Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. This is the halftime show. Thank you so much for joining us. The Kansas City Chiefs trail the Buffalo Bills 13-21 at the half. Pretty significant turn of events there right as the half ended, where you have the Chiefs flying down the field very quickly. It almost looked like they were going to score too quickly there and give the ball back to Buffalo. Then you get the sequence where Kareem Hunt gets stopped short. They burn their timeout. Then two incomplete passes there. The Chiefs end up settling for a field goal. That's one that's going to be tricky. You know, looking back on that, was that a spot that you may have wanted to try it one more time on fourth down with Kareem Hunt, who's been so good down there? I feel like that is the ultimate paradox of, do we just want to get points? The Chiefs do get the ball after half, so they've got a chance to go down and make it a 20-21 game if they score, or if they want to go for two, they can tie. Ultimately, really the story of the first half is just the defense hasn't been able to hold up, and the Chiefs offense just hasn't been quite as dynamic as it's been before. Before that final drive, before the end of the half, Patrick Mahomes had completed 4 of his 10 passes for 57 yards. Now, he had that big post route to Rashee Rice that was kind of a big chunk game, but the Bills defense showed up to play today. They look like a much better version of themselves, and maybe there'll be some adjustments from them offensively, but so far the Bills defense has actually given the Chiefs a little bit of fits. I think Jalen Moore, I think this is a game that you're starting to feel that Jalen Moore isn't Josh Simmons and why Josh Simmons is the starter. And we've seen some of that coming off the edge, and Mahomes just not having those running lanes to step into when the pass rush is getting home. But really, I think the big story here is just the defense. Josh Allen came into this game struggling. I wouldn't say that he was playing poorly, but the Bills offense really struggled to throw the ball. And instead, here in this game, they're rolling. You've got Josh Allen 15 of 17. So the balls hit the ground twice for Josh Allen. 176 yards, a touchdown. He's averaging 10.4 yards per completion. He's been sacked once for 2 yards. That was kind of a mush rush Nick Bolton spy situation. You came into this game saying, hey, we have to slow down James Cook. 11 carries for 64 yards. He's averaging 5.8 yards per attempt, and he's got a 17-yard run for his long. But the real story here, and something that, you hope that Spagnuolo is able to get advantage to figure out and take hold of, is the tight ends. We know that the Bills want to get in heavy personnel and pass out of that personnel. That's where the mismatches lie, and it's very clear that they have their magnifying glass on the Chiefs linebackers. Dalton Kincaid, 3 for 75, averaging 25 yards a catch with a long of 47 and a touchdown. Dawson Knox, a 30-yard reception. Even Jackson Hawes, who is their blocking first tight end, 18-yard catch. That is a massive problem. You take the tight ends out of it, 5 for 22 for Khalil Shakir. You'll take that. That's 4 yards a catch. Ty Johnson, 2 for 12. Tyrell Shavers, 1 for 7. Curtis Samuel, 1 for 6. Keon Coleman, 1 for 6. You'll take that defensively, but they've got to figure out a way to get hold of the tight ends. And let's be clear, this game script is going the exact opposite way that you would want it to go if you are a Chiefs fan. The Bills are out in front. The run is what they want to do. All this time, you are going to have the Chiefs linebackers trying to decide mid-snap, is this run, is this pass? And oh, by the way, you've got Josh Allen back there who has only carried the ball one time so far, and that was on that tush-push touchdown. So they're in a tough spot. It's not going to be easy. They did not choose the easy path in this game. Again, the passing offense for the Chiefs has just not quite been what it's supposed to be. Mahomes, 7 for 15, 123 yards, most of that coming on the last drive there with a big 40-yard reception by Hollywood Brown, averaging 8.2 yards per completion. He's been sacked once. It's felt like more pressure than that, 75.1 passer rating. Kareem Hunt, only 6 carries in this game, 34 yards. Most significant was the one that he got stopped on. That's been one of the very, very, very few times that he's been stopped in short yardage. They gave 1 carry to Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice quickly turned into Deebo Samuel, 2 carries out of the backfield, one of them on an outside zone, the other on the touchdown where he gets in there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 2 carries for 5 yards. It's no coincidence that one of the drives that the Chiefs had to punt on started with a Clyde Edwards-Helaire carry for negative 2 or 3 yards. Rashard Smith, 1 for 4. Receiving, Rashee Rice, 3 for 50. Hollywood Brown, 1 for 40. Travis Kelce, 1 for 20. Xavier Worthy, 1 for 7. Kareem Hunt, 1 for 6. So they're going to have to get that going a little bit. I do have faith that they will be able to take advantage of some of the space that's out there. But it really does feel like the Bills defense is not afraid to clamp down on this underneath stuff. So I saw someone in the chat here say to test them down the field. They got to have time to do it, but I don't think that that's necessarily a bad idea. I think that they're triggering downhill a lot because they know, hey, look, it's no coincidence that first down or that fourth down that the Chiefs get stopped. They are all over Rashee Rice on that hitch route. They know that that's where Patrick Mahomes wants to go, and that's where he's looking. And it kind of feels a little bit like maybe this offense has gotten a little bit more or too centric on Rashee Rice than you want it to be. I think this offense works best whenever you're distributing and moving the ball around effectively, right? And they've just not really been able to do that so far. So that's going to be a big part of this going forward. And then defensively, they've got to get control of the tight ends. They can take the tight ends away. This passing defense or the passing offense of the Bills starts getting under control a lot more. The Chiefs allowed more points in that half than they've allowed in like their last 3 games. That's pretty brutal for them. And like I said, they've not chosen the easy path here. You look at the team stats a little bit. The Bills have 7. The Bills have 13 first downs. Chiefs have 10. Total plays, 33 for Buffalo, 28 for the Chiefs. This is where it stands out, though. 173 yards for the Chiefs, 246 for the Bills. Those big explosive plays, that's not something that the Bills have been getting through the passing game. And instead, they're getting it from the tight end. So they've got to figure out a plan there to get hold of that. Both teams have a sack. Both these quarterbacks are really hard to sack in general because of what they can do as runners and because of what they can do extending plays. I know that I've seen some pounding of the drum of, the pass rush is kind of lacking in this game. This is a game that I would say it's almost as much, the pass rush is almost less important than it's containing Allen. Like I said, they kind of do this mush rush. You see 4 down defensive linemen all holding their blocker. And then you've got Nick Bolton or Leo Chanel standing behind in the A gap behind the nose tackle and basically trying to navigate through there to put that pressure on them whenever they do try to break contain. Because we saw like in that game in Brazil, whenever you lose contain on the edge, that's where those running lanes show up, and that's where Josh Allen can kill them. So far, if you want to talk about one positive so far, Josh Allen's only ran the ball 1 time for 1 yard. Now, it was a touchdown. It was a tush push, but that felt like a win in that instant. So Chiefs, obviously, they come out after half. They've got to score and score a touchdown. Rashee Rice has been a very big part of the game plan so far. How about seeing a little bit more Travis Kelce? How about seeing a little bit more Xavier Worthy? Both guys only have 1 reception. Hollywood Brown had the one big one. That feels like someone they're going to have to take advantage of. Also, not seeing much of the screen game. Brashard Smith, this was kind of an opportunity for him with having Isaiah Pacheco down in this game. Feels like that's another spot that they have to. I do personally think that the Chiefs cannot just completely abandon the run because they are down in this game. They got to stick with it because the run is where this defense is most vulnerable of the Bills. And Chiefs defense, they've got to get a stop too, right? They've got to be able to get a stop. I'll go back to it because I've seen some people saying being conservative. Them going for that fourth down that they didn't get, that was a classic example. It's 4th and 3. They're at their 40. That's a perfect example of a spot that you go for it most of the time. I can kind of empathize a little bit with them not going for the touchdown on that 4th, because I think it was 4th and 2 or 4th and 1. It wasn't necessarily get the ball half an inch, and Kareem Hunt's been so good there. But I think think back to the AFC Championship against the Bills. To me, it's kind of like that situation where you settle, you take the 3 because you needed that type of momentum going into half. Because the only thing worse than going down 21-13 at half is going down 21-10, right? Because then you're officially a 2-score game. The Chiefs can make this a tie game in a 1-score situation. So defense is definitely the biggest thing that has to step up here in the second half. Let's run over the chat here, see if there's anything, score predictions, anyone that you think that needs to step up here. I do think that the Chiefs still have an advantage here simply because I think they are the better offense, but this is going to be tight. I think this game's going to end 30-27, 31-30, something like that. We had our token Juwan Taylor penalty. Hopefully the Chiefs get most of their issues out here. To me, man, this game just feels like the team that turns the ball over is probably like turns the ball over in a turnover, a fumble, an interception. Like that could be the difference in the second half. Simply because both these teams are so good at holding on to the ball. They're so methodical. They're so good on fourth down. If Josh Allen throws an interception, a strip sack, or something like that, that could be the turning point in this game. So it'll be a tight, contested second half. These games are always close down to the wire. Either way, win or lose, Patrick Allen, Sterling Holmes, and Adam Best will be on the post-game show, breaking it all down, talking with you guys as the Chiefs head into the bye. So we're about to be deprived of Chiefs football for a full week after this game, so you might as well get into it while you can and join us on the post-game show. Be sure to like and subscribe this video, share what we're doing here on the halftime and pregame show. It's a great way to talk with everyone and kind of talk through it instead of watch a bunch of talking heads on football on the TV. So thank you so much for joining me. We will see you after the game. Go Chiefs.